meeting, and our technical experts who have been busy for months in order to work on preparing the release which has been agreed and which we'll be presenting in detail. I'd like to thank our guests from African governments, Commissioner Sacco from the African Union, the international organizations represented here. I'd also like to thank the law enforcement bodies which provide us the freedom of defend our freedom of expression. And I'd like to thank the many entrepreneurs who have helped us to prepare an expo which we have linked to the G7 event, because our guests, so that our guests and many citizens and many tourists were able to see for themselves the value of the Italian system and its quality contribution to food security. I'd like to thank schools, universities, and research centers which contributed to disseminating innovative technological solutions in order to guarantee environmental and income sustainability for our new generations. As you know, in parallel with the G7, in the formation you see here, in Sicily, in Syracuse, in Italy, we also held a youth G7 with youth from all the G7 member states and also with the representation of the European Union. Now, you do know that this G7 for the first time is focused on agriculture and fisheries. What we know is that thousands of years ago, here in Syracuse, as elsewhere, people lived of food, of course, produced by fishers and farmers. Centuries have accompanied us with different ways of living, with many types of art, with monuments which remind us of what history has provided. But one pillar of development has always been provided by farmers and fishers. The reason why we are working today is to ensure to future generations possibility to access quality food. The goal we set ourselves is to have a fairer and more just world in which all can not only have food but quality food, high quality food. Together with the African countries at our forum and also during the meeting which we've just completed, we explored a mode of cooperation which Italy decided to entitle in the memory of a great man, Enrico Mattei, who was capable of looking at Africa on an equal footing, considering Africa for what it is, a continent which is rich with potential resources, lands, and young people. Being aware that the more advanced countries had the innovation capability, training capability, and therefore thinking of an approach which was devoid of any temptation to be predatory or to hand out charity, allowing which would ask for African countries to provide resources without any counterpart. We believe that With Africa, we have to work to grow together. We have to provide self-sufficiency in food, but also we need to develop the value of their products so that they can be economic self-sufficiency and growth in wealth. Also avoiding that hundreds of thousands, millions of people are forced to flee their lands because of hunger. I am very glad that our final document opens with a consideration also on food sovereignty and the possibility of peoples to continue to produce and consume what they democratically feel to be most suitable for them. I inserted this word, and I thank Prime Minister Meloni for having accepted our request when I was entrusted with the Ministry for Agriculture, Food Sovereignty and Forests. And the European Union was equally sensitive, which has developed over the last 2 years, and President von der Leyen, in the letter entrusting the designated commission, also indicated that European food sovereignty is a goal. But we've now taken a further step, because with this approval, the approval of this communique, this approach becomes a global approach. We do not believe in closing markets. We believe that markets should be regulated so that there is fairness, that there's no unfair competition, and that our farmers and fishers and entrepreneurs can achieve the goals which we set them to undertake, sacrifices in protecting the environment with more virtuous practices, and that at the same time we wish to define markets so as to protect our entrepreneurs from a market which allows the access of goods produced without respecting labor rights and environmental rights, which we ask of our entrepreneurs. We obviously recalled that the G7, before being a forum for political discussion, is a place for sharing values and defending democracy and a just world, and it therefore rejects any attitude which undermines these values, and therefore we unanimously condemn the Russian aggression against Ukraine, which we have rejected, and we have also stressed that we hold a common hope that this aggression be ended and that the international rule of law be re-established. This will goes in parallel with the hope that other conflicts which are jeopardizing supply chains be ended, and this would make it possible to look even more positively to the future. There are many choices which politics must make, responding to the indication of science and research in order to stem the disastrous effects of climate change. But we also set ourselves a question which we need to answer. Who will be paying in economic terms for the decisions we make with regard to those who produce food? Obviously, this is not a cost which can be borne solely by farmers and fishers. We need to guarantee a fair income to the young, because alongside a passion for these activities, there has to be fair remuneration, making it possible to continue to undertake these virtuous activities of huge importance. And this is something which leads us to reflect on the tools to be made available to them, the first of which is replacing farmers and fishers center stage and correctly presenting their activities, developing their value and attracting the interest of young people with regard to this vital activity for the planet. Agriculture is at the center of protection of the environment, and the practices of agriculture are the first barriers against the effects generated by climate change. It's equally clear how necessary it is to guarantee access to work with equal conditions to women who often sacrifice their career prospects and receive lower incomes than men. We've seen that international agreements, the rights of workers and human rights should be part of a reflection to be applied to the market. Those who exploit work and damage the environment cannot be considered as entrepreneurs on an equal footing with those who respect the requirements of the environment. And so the role of international cooperation in a vision which is increasingly strategic needs to respond to needs, including training, the value of seeds, the need for accessible technological innovation, the possibility of using new instruments which technologies make available to us, looking to the current challenges of agricultural 4.0 and also those to come of agricultural 5.0, which will be entrusted to so-called artificial intelligence. Prime Minister Meloni stressed a few days ago that human intelligence is a fact. Artificial intelligence is the ability to respond to questions on the basis of data which have to be increasingly shared, but true intelligence is not the ability to answer, it is the ability to frame questions, imagining the challenges of the future. And so, in thanking the colleagues present for their very valuable work here, I am sure that this G7 too constitutes a step forward. I wish to thank everybody, but allow me to thank the Japanese government, because many of the issues and the input which we have explored at this meeting result from the work carried out last year at Miyazaki. Allow me to wish the best of success to the future G7 presidency in Canada, because they will not only consolidate the pillars we've worked on here, but we'll also have the possibility to assess steps forward towards the goals which we have set ourselves on. Finally, Italy has tried to contribute concretely at this G7 to 2 projects of cooperation with international organizations, with a 10 million endowment from our country for seed certification made available to international organizations and also to training. Thank you very much to all for what we have achieved here, and thank you for what we will be able to carry out. I'll leave the floor to our colleague Fuciokowski, and I'd like to thank him for the work he's carried out as EU Commissioner and what he'll be doing in future. Wishing him the greatest success, and then our colleague ministers will take the floor.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to thank and to congratulate Italian presidency and personally our hosts, Minister Francesco Lollobrigida for organizing this very important meeting in Italy, in Sicily, in this historical town, Syracuse. Very intensive agenda, very important topics, cooperation with African countries, presence here, many ministers from Africa, and EU Commissioner Josefa Sacco from African Commission. There is very important signal how important this cooperation is. A very interesting meeting with young farmers and very impressive, inspiring recommendations directly from young farmers for how to improve the generational renewal, which is a challenge everywhere in the world, including European Union, to improve the generational renewal. I'd like to also to thank the Italian farmers who are with us. Their presence here, we can opportunity to test excellent Italian food with the organic food with geographical indications. Thank you, the biggest farmers organization in Italy, Coldiretti and Confagricoltura, and as your presence here is very, very important, very opportunity also to thank the farmers for their work to contribute to ensure food security in very difficult times. I had personally opportunity to visit one organic farm in close to Syracuse, a very interesting experience meeting with the family farmers, organic farmers in Sicily. I'd like to very briefly to mention that one point of this communique which was adopted today, strengthening agriculture to profitable, resilient, equitable, and sustainable food systems. This is the different words, but the same what this is my suggestion for the future agricultural policy in Europe. For as principle, security, stability, sustainability, and solidarity. Food security is a priority for all citizens, stability for our farmers, economical and legal stability, sustainability for our environment, climate, and rural areas, and solidarity with our farmers, and solidarity international level, like, for example, with farmers in Africa, which was opportunity to discuss about this. And last remark, I'd like to thank you, the all ministers, G7, because once again is a very strong signal, our support, our solidarity with Ukraine, which is a victim of the unprovoked, illegal, unjustified aggression from Russia. Once again, also in this communique, we expressed our solidarity in Ukraine. Not the first time is this strong signal, our support for this attacked country. Once again, thank you, congratulations, Francesco. I'd like also to thank the previous G7 presidency, Japanese presidency, very important, good meeting in Miyazaki. I wish all the best for the next presidency, the next Canadian presidency, successful presidency G7 in the next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Janusz. Ministro Sakamoto, lei la parola. In nome,
ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much. I wish to congratulate President and Minister Lollobrigida and with the Ministry for Agriculture, Food Sovereignty and Forestry on the success of this ministerial meeting. Once again, congratulations. This encounter follows the meeting of the Ministers of Agriculture of the G7 in Miyazaki, presided over by Japan last year. And I believe that having approached matters pertaining to the building of a sustainable system for agriculture, it was a very, very propitious meeting. It was also very useful to know and hear ideas about the future of food and agriculture from young people from other countries. And normally, we don't often have a chance to hear what they have to say. I would like to express my gratitude to Minister Lollobrigida for carrying forward all the recommendations made by the students of Japanese high schools at the meeting of the Ministers of Agriculture of the G7 in Miyazaki last year. Our country, considering the declaration of the Ministers of Agriculture of the G7 adopted today, shall continue to work forcefully and towards the transformation of the global food system. Thank you.
Ora la parola a Lawrence.
I now give over the floor to Lawrence for Canada.
Thank you, Minister. I'd like to start by saying that the Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, the Honourable Lawrence Macaulay, sends his regrets for not being able to be at this important meeting, but had duties that he had to do in our capital of Ottawa. Canada would like to thank the Italian presidency and Minister Lollobrigida in specific for hosting us in beautiful Syracuse. The discussions we've had over the past few days with G7 partners and partners from Africa and multilateral agencies have been both important and timely. Indeed, our conversation generated important insights on the continued significance of the importance of a rules-based trading regime and how we can produce more food, more sustainably, more inclusively. We also highly valued the session with African leaders and aid organizations, which underscored the need for food systems that are resilient and where partners can share knowledge and capacity with one another. Canada believes in the value of taking an inclusive approach and working directly with our farmers. We were especially pleased to hear from youth at today's event, and I would personally like to thank the members of the Canadian Agricultural Youth Council and youth from around G7 countries for their very thoughtful and well-considered presentations. We believe that an inclusive approach that involves youth, Indigenous peoples, and women and girls is incredibly important to advancing the sector. We firmly believe in the need to speak directly to farmers and make sure that they can have access to markets and a rules-based system that is always based on science. And in terms of science and innovation are going to be absolutely clear to future success, and that came out very clearly in our discussions this week. Canada prioritizes the responsible management of fishery stocks and particularly of addressing the trouble of IUU fishing, and we are very grateful that the Minister added this important item to the agenda. Let me conclude by thanking our hosts for their tremendous hospitality, and I would like to thank Minister Lollobrigida in specific for his leadership that led to such a productive and successful meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you very much. Ora la parola al collega Cem, che rappresenta.
Now the floor to our colleague Jem, representing the Federal Republic of Germany.
Buongiorno. Zuerst gilt mein Dank unserem Gastgeber Francesco Lollobrigida.
I thank our host, Francesco Lollobrigida, the city of Syracuse and its mayor, and all those who have organized this conference, and all the people from the agriculture ministry in this wonderful historical venue. And we were also able to enjoy the cuisine, and in this wonderful place we also discussed agriculture. It was the right choice because to continue the in the pathway set by Germany and Japan, and also place the stress on Africa was extremely welcome. Energy security, agriculture security, the challenges posed by the environment are things that we need to address. We need to have an exchange on all this. And let us not forget that everything we discuss will have a value, but only if it will come to be. Time is running out, and we need to continue with this approach at the forum in Germany in February. I must say that since Japan, things have not improved, and we also see that that Ukraine is a place where there is war. Let us not forget Ukraine. And the Prime Minister from Ukraine will be coming to visit us, and I will refer to him about what we discussed. We also thank the young people from the hackathon, and we had a contract with students from the Guggenheim University, a center of excellence. We all firmly believe that we need to listen to what young people and students have to say, because they are dependent on our actions. And not only today, but in 10 years' time, 50 years' time, what is needed is a sustainable future. It is also necessary to look to biodiversity, resilient cropping systems. We owe this to our young generations. Thank you. Thank you, Germany. I now give the floor to France. Thank you. On behalf of our minister, Nigeria, we thank the Italian Minister for Agriculture, Sovereignty, and Food Sovereignty and Forestry. And I thank all the local authorities for their very warm welcome in a country and region so rich in culture, but also rich in agricultural heritage. And this from all the geographical indications, something to which we are so keen about in France. So we thank everyone for their contribution to this G7. Thank you once again for the very first time with this format to have convened the African Union and a number of African countries to create a forum for exchange with the members of G7 to strengthen cooperation, a sharing of experiences between the countries of the G7 and some African states. And this is extremely important considering the importance of the African agricultural development for the food security of this continent. And I've also welcomed the initiative of the Italian presidency for organizing the youth hackathon that has given the possibility of 3 students from the French institute from the west of France to bring their contribution to this forum. And we shall also be very keen to hear what they will have to say and what they have already said. They are agents of change. Thank you very much for organizing an exchange on food sovereignty. You know that this is a matter that we're very keen about in France. We have integrated this name in the name of our ministry. This is a concept which is not very often understood internationally, interpreted at times. And I would like to underscore that food sovereignty has nothing to do with protectionism or autarky. It is just to ensure the harnessing of our supplies, consolidating our production, our production capacity, making our agriculture more resilient and sustainable, and having a multilateral relation with our partners based on the OECD rules that should also take more and more in account environmental, climate issues, sustainability issues, as the young have stressed yesterday. And also we have been able to come to a balanced communique which lays out the challenges to food security, resilience, sustainability, stressing the importance of science and innovation, and also stressing that agriculture is a bearer of solutions to respond to the loss of biodiversity, food insecurity, vagaries of climate change, and all the many political challenges that lead to food insecurity. And I would also like to recall that France is fully in solidarity with Ukraine, a victim of an illegal, unjustified aggression from Russia. And of course, there is a great role for us to play to justly recognize the extraordinary daily work of our farmers to feed our populations, because food security cannot be taken for granted, and also to have an exchange on the solutions which are best suited to help our farmers towards a transition towards more sustainable and resilient development, which needs strong policies to support the strategic sector for our economies and our societies, agriculture. Thank you very much to the Italian presidency once again. Thank you very much.
Lascio la parola.
And now I hand over to the United Kingdom. Daniel, you have the floor.
Buongiorno a tutti. Thank you, Minister Lollobrigida, being such a generous host in such a beautiful location. Siracusa has been a wonderful setting for our discussions within this important forum. Now, the United Kingdom very much appreciates Italy's leadership throughout this year's G7 agriculture discussions, and I came here to discuss the urgent need for the global transition to sustainable agriculture, fisheries and aquaculture. And alongside that, I came to discuss the critical importance of achieving food security, both domestically and globally, to feed a growing global population. And we've had very constructive discussions and agreed on the importance of ensuring a well-functioning, rules-based, multilateral trading system with the World Trade Organization at its core, on taking forward commitments under COP28, Emirates Declaration on Sustainable Agriculture, Resilient Food Systems and Climate Change, and on promoting and implementing measures to tackle antimicrobial resistance. Also on promoting making sure that we end overfishing and illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing, and very significantly, supporting Ukraine in the face of Russia's unprovoked, illegal aggression. And that includes through the UK-led grain verification scheme, which will help to tackle the illegal seizure of grain by Russia from the occupied regions of Ukraine. Now, I'm delighted that these topics have been recognised in this year's G7 Agriculture Communiqué. But I also came to learn from the African Union participants about their perspective on these shared agricultural challenges. I very much look forward to an ongoing dialogue. And I very much enjoyed hearing from the young people, the young farmers in this meeting, including the 3 young farmers from across the United Kingdom. And it will be those young people, not just in the United Kingdom, but across the world, who will be central to implementing these commitments for years to come. But with war in Europe and shared global challenges, these meetings have very much reminded me of the value of working in partnership to achieve our common goals. So I look forward to continuing that work with you all, including through Canada's G7 presidency next year. Thank you. Grazie a tutti.
Grazie Daniel.
Thank you, Daniel. And now, Tom from the United States of America.
Thank you. Mr. Minister, I think it's fair to say that you could use all of us as folks who could promote the beautiful area of Sicily that you've invited us to. And I want to take this opportunity to personally thank you for creating this wonderful experience for all of us. I'm struck by the uniqueness of how Italy has approached this G7 Ag meeting. In addition to inviting and enhancing the role of young people from what we saw initially in Japan, it was Italy that saw the importance of the extraordinary opportunity and challenge arising from Africa's emergence as a key to our ability as humankind to address global food and nutrition security. Also, it was Italy that expanded our portfolio of discussing various proteins with a focus revolving around sustainable fishing and agriculture. It's also significant that Italy continued to put an emphasis on the important role of science and technology and innovation in meeting this global challenge. I'm struck by the shared goal that we all have, which is a more productive, resilient, and more sustainable agriculture and food system, but also one that makes opportunity available for all-sized farming operations. I think it's fair to say we also have a shared understanding of the enormity of the challenges we face, from illegal and unprovoked conflict in Ukraine to climate change to even COVID disruption of the supply chain that we still currently see an impact from. Its impact on agricultural production, on biodiversity, on land and soil health, on water availability, and on rural people and communities. But we leave here with a shared understanding of the tools that we must use collaboratively to address these challenges. A rules-based and risk-based, science-based, free and fair trading system with no export restrictions. A continued investment and reliance on science and innovation, and the important role of sharing and exchanging the information that is learned through science and technology. Expanding access to emerging technologies from AI to gene editing. Continuing to promote public-private partnerships and leveraging resources to accelerate progress so that we can mitigate and adapt to a changing climate more quickly. And more resilient supply chains with an emphasis on local and regional food systems. I want to assure my partners in the G7 meeting today that we at the United States is prepared to do its part. We have, in fact, made additional commitments of resources to Africa, understanding its significance through our Regional Agricultural Partnership Promotion Program, our Food for Progress program, as well as our McGovern-Dole feeding program. We're committed to bringing the youth into this effort in a more meaningful way by investing in our Next Gen initiative, reaching potentially over 20,000 young people in the U.S. to encourage them in careers in food and agriculture. We will remain committed to a rules-based, science-based system and a fair and free trading system, which we certainly have seen increases in wins over the last several years. We'll continue to invest significant resources with our farmers, our ranchers, and our producers in climate-smart agriculture and forestry, developing new commodity, new partnerships, new initiatives, and also sharing the information that we learn from those experiences. We'll continue to invest in better measurements, better monitoring, better reporting, and better verification of the impact of climate, and again, willingness to share that with the rest of the world. And we'll continue to promote the utilization of our International Climate Hub so that information that we obtain, not only through our efforts, but also through the collaborative effort of AIM for Climate, will continue to be made available to all around the world. We are in this together, and I think the communique reflects a genuine commitment and collaborative spirit on the part of the G7. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Ultima considerazione.
So, final consideration. Allow me to stress how this G7 is something which we did not conceive of as something closed. We wanted it to be open to the city, colleagues, my colleagues, ministers, as myself were able to walk in a welcoming environment with hundreds of thousands of people and thousands of people visiting the expo with law enforcement agents who did an excellent job, but there were no challenges and no opposition to those who presented themselves as willing to entertain a dialogue with anybody who wished to discuss the way to travel. Politics cannot stand aside from the interests of the people, and with this G7 we wanted a conversation, and the leaders of this, which did not keep the leaders of this sector separate from the people, and I think that this is an important demonstration which showed that we are aware of the need to work together and that these institutions are working for the future of the planet and the inhabitants of the planet, the citizens of our nations. And here I'd like to thank the cultural associations and the men and women from the entertainment sector who provided their performances to us at the Greek Theatre yesterday, who showed us some artistic prowess which sometimes we are not aware of, because agriculture does not stand apart from other issues which need to be felt and interpreted at their best. Agriculture is not distant from culture, they're connected. So I'd also like to thank my Italian colleagues, my ministers. Practically all the ministers of the Italian government have come to Siracusa in the last few days, because agriculture also means health, so it's very important for the Minister of Health. Eating well will reduce our health costs. Agriculture is also the environment. Agriculture is also labor. It's university development, it's school, it's training and education for our students, so that they can know the best techniques to provide good food and respect the environment and be aware of the rules for best employment. All have come, including the Prime Minister, Giorgio Meloni, who I'd like to thank. I'd like to thank for the work she's carried out in recent years. She's the first woman we've had at the head of an Italian government. This is something which many are surprised by, and for me this is something which is a matter of pride. And from my point of view, when women lead things, even though today we don't have many with us, things turn out much better than when we men lead things. Having said that, I wanted to open this meeting with the presence of the Speaker of our Chamber of Deputies, and now the presiding officer of the Senate of the Italian Republic will be present at the closing. Parliament represents all, and it is the place where decisions are taken, and it's the place which we want to address a thought to, independently who wins the elections. There are common goals which don't need to change when different parties win. Health, fairness in the economy are things which cut across political positions. We have to guarantee stability and guarantee the affirmation of those values which the G7 countries have always represented, and which they have, where today they have the duty to consolidate them and show that our system, the democratic model, works better and guarantees income, fairness and justice, and respect for the environment and the hopes of peoples, but which often not seen to be represented fully by systems which sometimes are too bureaucratic, but which are the only ones which can respond to the freedom which our systems guarantee. Thank you, and with this I'll close our G7 meeting, and all the best to everybody.